So I figured the next step naturally is to do one of the hardest sabers to build. We're going for Count Dooku's saber this time. So as you can see, I've already prepped a lot of the saber itself. Um, I wanted to make sure that it was at least somewhat possible before I went and tried to do a live stream. That way, you guys aren't just sitting here like, "What is he doing?" Right? There's no, what's going on here. Um, so this time, we're using a lot more PVC pipes instead of metal tubing, just because metal tubing really only comes in 45 degrees and 90 degrees. Whereas PVC, you can get a lot more like long curved pieces. So I have my reference image here, obviously. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to match kind of that curve. Because the interesting thing is, as you're looking at this, right, Count Dooku's lightsaber is almost all custom machined parts. Whereas the original, I don't know, the original movies, lightsabers were a lot of just kind of kit bashed parts. Um, this one is significantly more kind of, okay, now that we've made Star Wars, let's go ahead and hand design these lightsabers instead of just, slapping this World War II piece on here and a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Um, so, well, we're waiting for everybody to join in, get in here. I'm going to go grab a couple of the tools we're going to be using, and I will be right back. All right, I'm going to leave that there for you guys. Give me just a sec. All right, you guys. Just gonna go grab. Yeah, so I brought Luke Skywalker's lightsaber over, so we can kind of use it for sizing reference. And I got my iPad here, so we can look at more reference images. And then I'll kind of go over the process that I've been working on so far to build the lightsaber. Let me just get this all signed in and ready to go. Okay, so for those of you who just tuned in, this is what we got so far. It's mostly made out of plastic PVC tubing. This is just a 1-inch, what do they call it, conduit, I think. And it had a nice curve to it when we found it. I wish I had a picture of the actual starting piece. But it had this piece attached to the end, like like so. This, unfortunately, it's a good size for the end piece. You can see like this piece right here. It's not bad size-wise. It was just the fact that, one, it's so long and it has this tapered edge. So I went ahead and just cut that off. Cut the, okay. I don't know if I could take all of this apart. I just used 3/4 tubing as kind of a connector between the two pieces of pipe. And that seemed to work fairly well. Oh, hello, welcome to the chat. I see your message there. And then we have, what are these parts called? I don't know what these parts are called. Once I get a parts list of the finished saber, I will go ahead and post that with the video. But for right now, I don't have the names of the parts. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so this curved bit right here was originally attached to the end, so it was like a flat piece of tubing and then a long curve. But I'm looking at Count Dooku's lightsaber, right? And I'm like, okay, Count Dooku's lightsaber, you have the flat part in the middle. right here. And you have what is like a 30-degree angle right there, and then just a slight curve towards the top. And that's what gives you that like iconic dueling style, the Form 2 Makashi, right? Where everything's kind of I don't know if you guys can see that on camera when I'm moving this. But he kind of is able to angle it a little bit better for especially like stabbing strikes, because you can see with a regular lightsaber, 90 degrees, right? It's vertical. But if I want to like stab, I have to really tilt my wrist like that to do a jabbing strike. Whereas with Count Dooku's style, oh, don't roll off the don't roll off the side. Count Dooku's lightsaber. If I put this on to give you that full curve, he really, to do a thrusting strike, he really doesn't have to uh, do that full angled wrist, which can be very uncomfortable, especially in a quick duel. Hey Kyle, welcome to the chat. Um, we're just working on building Count Dooku's lightsaber right now, kind of going over the design principles of it, um, and preparing to figure out what the next step is. So what I've kind of done so far is, especially with this top part, I'm trying to figure out, okay, with Home Depot parts, how do we accomplish this bit right here? Because this bit is incredibly complex. It's a custom machined part. This right here, obviously, I've kind of gotten it to work with just, oh, come on, the tape stuck to the pipe. Okay, there we go. I'm kind of using the shape of this bit to kind of match that. But as I'm looking at this, right, I'm like, okay, Home Depot parts, right? This looks like a faucet head to me. Like when I look at that, I'm seeing a faucet. So I'm gonna go back probably tonight and just kind of look through the plumbing and faucet section just to see, um, is there a faucet one that's cheap, because faucets are like $60, dude. They are insane. Looking at the prices of stuff, crazy. But the other thing that I want to make sure is that there's one that has such a subtle curve to it. That's a big issue I'm finding when I'm looking for Home Depot parts, right? Loose saber, super easy. Everything's vertical, 90-degree angles, no issue there. Count Dooku's lightsaber, it's a lot of subtle curves. So when you're working with just like 90-degree and 45-degree angle joints, might be able to use a 45 for this part here. I don't know if this is in the way. I might be able to use a 45 for this part. That part is going to have to be custom. So that's why I went with PVC. So I'm going to go over, I don't know if you guys can see the iPad. You can. I'm just looking up reference on my iPad over here, just so I can kind of see, all right, if we have image reference, but I want to see what else we could do. I've just used Sharpie to mark out where I want these grips to be, and it's very crude, as you can see. But honestly, maybe that's what we do today. Maybe we work on the grip, because we know that that is in the correct spot and it is perfectly flat. Okay, yeah, I think that's what we'll work on today. So what I'm going to do in that case is, let's see what we got here. I want to make sure that looks a lot cleaner, because you guys can see right now it's very rough, right? I just sharpied it in last night. It's not symmetrical at all. Can you guys actually see that with the light? Let's get more light in here. There we go. Look at that. Much nicer. Just kind of penciled it in. But as we're looking at this, you can kind of see the whole thing is divided into, more lead in this. There we go. It's kind of divided into two parts. So you got this side and that side. And it looks like they're identical pieces, just mirrored, now that I'm looking at it. So if this sits flat like that, I'm going to put a marker on here so that we know where this connects. I've been trying to align it with the barcode, but I thought, oh, if I line the barcode up, it'll be correct. It was not. So let's see here. How do we want to do this? We could. So we got a line through the center here. So I'm gonna work on that. I might go grab a Sharpie to make this more clean, but I also want to be able to erase it because I'm gonna mess up a lot. So the question, do we actually want to cut this, or do we just want to engrave with a Dremel or something like that? Just engrave this line. That'll be the interesting part. All right, give me a sec. I'm gonna look up something real quick, and then we'll continue with that. If you guys have any ideas for what you guys think would look best, go ahead and leave them in the chat, and I'll be able to see that in a couple minutes. All right, let's see. What are we looking at here? I'm going to move the image closer. All right. What I'm looking at as an issue is right here. You guys can kind of see, can you? See that sharp point right there? I don't want to have to be working around that when I'm using it in the future. Ideally, I would make a blade for this and actually be able to use it. But I don't want to have a sharp edge that I have to worry about. So I'm just going to keep it like this and engrave the details. I think that's probably the best bet. Let's see here. All right. Okay. I'm going to set it up real quick so that I can see the chat on my iPad as well. That way I don't have to keep on going back and looking at the at my phone. All right, let's see here. What are we working with? All right, let's go ahead and start trying to figure out a material for the black parts. So what we kind of have, it looks like it's designed to be a comfortable grip. So we're probably gonna want, obviously it's still gotta be something you can buy at Home Depot. So not leather. You guys know, okay, do I have one down? I might have one below my workstation here. That's close. Okay. So this is a giant one. But are you guys familiar with these like floor mats? Just the regular foam floor mats that they use for like cosplay and stuff? We might just go and use one of these, purchase one of these. Because this way, because it's foam, we could use, I have a little wood burner right here. We could use a wood burner to carve in the kind of knurled pattern that he has on the grip right there. That might be the way to go, now that I'm thinking about it. Because foam is comfortable. It's easy to glue, especially to PVC. They make that like Gorilla Glue stuff. Excellent with foam and PVC. That's just the basis of a lot of cosplay stuff. I think that's probably the way to go. All right. Let's see here. Can we purchase foam at Home Depot is the question. I'm going to check their website and see if this is a Home Depot part. If it's not a Home Depot part, we might have to rework this or just change the title to like DIY lightsaber. Let's see, I'm gonna look this up. Look specifically on Home Depot's website. I should have foam somewhere around here because about, what was that, 4 years ago? 5 years ago? Something like that. I made a still suit from Dune and I used a lot of foam for that. So I think I might have some scraps somewhere around here. I just want to make sure that it is a Home Depot part. Okay, let's see. Come on, homedepot.com, search. I'm just going to try foam. Floor mats is coming up with like the water resistant stuff. And really that's not what we need. It's also really expensive. Okay, so we're looking for foam for the black pieces right now. I'm gonna keep on marking out the general design. Let's see, we're gonna need, separate this. Should probably make a longer version of this just because it's not fitting super well into this slot. It's also difficult because it's curved, so I'm trying to fit a straight piece of tubing into a curved slot. I don't even know if this is gonna come out. There we go. All right. So this is what I've been doing to connect the pieces is just, curve part number 1, curve part number 2, and just sticking in between them a piece of 3/4 inch connector. I think it's called conduit extender at Home Depot. The one issue is that the pipe itself is for some reason too wide. Like the 3/4 does not fit into the 1-inch pipe. I was really hoping they would be a super easy fit. But unfortunately, that's only with like your plumbing PVC. This electrical PVC, for some reason, is not perfectly sized. So what I'm trying to do right now that we have this. Oh yeah, if you guys want to see what it originally looked like, how can I? More or less, this is what the piece that I purchased originally looked like. So it did have that nice kind of hilt look to it. But it was too curved towards the end, and I wanted that kind of dual curve look. And so I cut just right there so I could place that on the front and get, yeah, just like that, get that dual curve. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to go and grab my Dremel and we can start working on this piece a little bit more. Be right back. All right, Dremel box secured. Gonna bring this over here. This is just a standard Dremel. We've got, that's not level at all because it's sitting on top of everything. But we just got a bunch of bits and then the tool itself. I'm gonna set this down here so that I can access it without it being on the table. And go ahead and unwind this cord. Okay. I'm gonna take the sanding bit off because that's what I was using to rough up the 3/4 connector so that it worked. But for right now, I'm we're going to want something much more detailed. All right, so let's stick that in there, and let's see. Bring my extension cord over here. Set power. We will set that on the ground as well. And go ahead and plug in the ground. All right. So I don't know if this is gonna be really loud on camera. It might be. I don't know how my iPhone's gonna take the sound, but we shall see. So now that we have all of that, we'll go ahead and grab a junk piece of paper that we can use. Oh, this is the reference image from when I was building Luke's lightsaber. Okay, so what I want to do with this scrap piece of paper is I want to draw a single shape that I can then just wrap around the pipe for reference as to what it's going to look like. And I'm trying to figure out, how does this lay? Okay, so that lays like that. So our center line is more or less like that. Okay, so we've been doing this terribly wrong because that explains why it's not even at all. Also, I was rounding this out, but now that I'm looking at the image, that's just a straight line. So that gives us a lot more space, actually. Ooh, this might not be as hard as I thought. So if we just, okay, if we bring this down and make it straight, does that, okay, that kind of lines up. And then we'll just curve it in like so. There's so many lines on here, I gotta erase what we're not going to be using. It's our center line, we need to keep that. Move this. Let's see here. Okay. It's hard to see pencil because it's shining in the reflection of the light. Okay. So, if that sits like that, this is a lot more accurate. I think we can move this one up slightly. So I'm going to say, I do like that curve though. I think that's a good curve angle. Just gonna move this up just a hair. And erase our previous line. So much of this is just me trying to figure this out live. So I wish I could do like a full tutorial video instead. That way this was engaging the whole time. Unfortunately, that's not really going to work all that well because I don't know what I'm doing. I take that back. I kind of know what I'm doing. I just need to figure out the best way to do it. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but this is kind of what I'm working with. There you can see the reflection of the line right there. So now we're going to have this thin segment, and we're going to try and color in everything so that it matches that. Now, on the other side, we're going to do the exact same thing. We'll mark out our rough center line, and then take that and say, okay, about this far, and then make it straight. Well, it's a steeper curve than that, actually. It's gonna be more like, more like that. Okay. Erase that line. That looks all right. And then that would mean that I'm going to move the whole thing up. The trick is keeping this actual segment in between the two grips fairly narrow. I'll set this paper over here right now. Keeping that fairly narrow while also getting the correct angles. I'm just going to scoop all of this up just slightly, making sure to keep roughly the same angles. Okay, so if we do that, bring it up to here-ish. Sketch that like so. Connect the rounded portion to it. It's not too bad. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can be able to see kind of what that looks like. Also, sorry guys for not reading the chat super often. I'm working over here and my phone is unfortunately attached to the tripod, so I can't see the chat live while I'm working. But okay, let's go over this. Okay, so we have the center line is kind of messing up the straight section through it. I'm going to erase that just in the middle so you guys can kind of see better what this is going to look like. Okay, so if you can imagine, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is it going to focus? Might focus. I don't know. We'll see. So you can see we have the flat portion through the center. That's going to have a line through it, just like it does in the image. And then the grip actually looks pretty good. Although on this side, I'm going to make it a lot sharper. Yeah, more like that. That looks better. Now on the saber itself, as I hold this up to it, the actual size of these is much smaller. And there's a lot more steel. So I'm trying to figure out, do we want to do that or do we want to just have bigger handles? What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take, wow, this bit is really worn down. We're going to see if, because this bit is so worn down, if we can just sand off the excess Sharpie that I had originally drawn on there. Because I drew way too much Sharpie on. I don't know if that's loud. Hopefully it's not. That is not tight at all. Alright, so that is not at all tight on there. Let's go ahead and tighten that. If I even can. This might just be a really bad bit. Yeah. Okay, so I will not be able to tighten that, which means we're going to do it by hand. Some rough sandpaper. And just, which line did I decide? Okay, I'm going to start on this side because I know where I'm at. That is not good sandpaper for it. It's just clogging up the grit. I'm going to see if I have a file real quick. The file should do the job much better. Let's see, what do we have over here? I would bring the camera with me, but one, my garage is a mess. Two, it's on a tripod and I really don't want to be carrying a whole tripod around. So let's see here. Is that better? Oh yeah, it's kind of doing it. shot just a little bit right there. But, okay. So that's closer to what we're looking at. I'm going to keep on filing this. Okay. It's not straight, but you can kind of see a little bit better what that's going to look like now. Imagine this Sharpie goes to this line. Okay. So I think we are ready to transfer that. What I'm going to try first is just, I'm going to take the paper and wrap it around and just see if with like a blunt tool, if I can use abrasion to transfer our pencil marks to the paper at all. I have no idea if this is gonna work. I might just have to hand draw it. Might be the best way to do it either way, especially since this is slipping. But we'll see. Did that work? That did not work at all. Okay, hand drawing it is. So let's see. What do we have here? We have. Get out the. Here's one. So we have. I'm going to make that slightly smaller. Just going to mark out the general dimensions. We start right there. I'm going to go right there. And then how wide are we looking? I got 2 inches. The hard part here is trying to draw something where when I cut it out and wrap it around the pipe, it looks correct. Because, obviously a pipe is not a flat surface. So I kind of have to think in 3 dimensions. And it looks like if we go 2 inches, we should be fine. Okay. So then what we want to do is we just want to take this at the edge. Make a thing like that. Over here on the other side. Roughly the same thing. It's slightly different. Trying to figure out which one of those I like better. And then this, I want to be not a perfect point. I want it to be a little bit rounded. I'm going to take that, go like that, and just do these parts out of the way. And find that same point that I liked. Roughly about there. And draw a straight line. Okay. So, now we got that. We're just going to take this and round out these edges here. Ooh, that's way too much. Okay. Now I'm going to take these scissors and just try and cut this out, and we'll test fit it and see how it looks. Start with a very just rough cut. Okay. That way we're not trying to cut on a full piece of paper. Toss that. All right. Let's see what we're looking at. When we cut this like so. Excellent. I think, yeah, this arc is much wider. That might be an issue. All right, got that cut out. Let's go ahead and find roughly our center line here. And if we wrap that, what does that look like? Ooh, hold up. That is, I'm gonna do it on this side. That's actually not too bad at all. If we take that and then we mirror it on the other side, that might work. It might give us exactly what we're looking for while keeping a smaller profile than what we originally drew. Okay, I'm liking that actually. Okay, so I'm gonna cut another one of these shapes. Actually, I guess I don't have to do that. I can just sand all of this off, and then let's see here. Does alcohol remove, like isopropyl alcohol, does that remove Sharpie? I have no idea if that works. I know alcohol is not technically like super great solvent, but I'm gonna try it with an old rag and just see. I have isopropyl alcohol here because I was working on my dad's old lathe. Thing was built in like 1945, and let's just say it got neglected. Oh yeah, look at that, perfect. We can just dissolve it off. That is amazing. That's actually a really pretty color. Wait a second, no. Okay, so you have to wipe it off as you're going, otherwise it's just going to give everything that color. Which, I mean, obviously we're going to spray paint this like silver afterwards, so it really doesn't matter if it gets color on it. But the less excess we have on the pipe, the better. It's fine, you can still see the lines where it was originally at. Kind of got baked on. All right. So I guess we're just gonna have to go with this nice bluish purple patina, and then we'll just use sandpaper to fully sand it down once we're to that point. I love the alcohol dries so fast. It's a real lifesaver. All right, set that back over there. And now, let's find how that sits. And place this down. Okay. So if I had to guess, it's going to sit. Yeah. Okay, just like that. And as I'm looking at this, I see there is a little bit of material left here at the end. That segment. So I'm going to bring this back just slightly, and then I just want to make sure that that is aligned perfectly. And I will draw around the edges. So that now we are going to have an identical design on both sides. Should give us a much more professional looking product. It's harder towards the end here because it wants to pop up. But let's see. That's aligned. You know what might actually work better? I don't know what I'm doing. What if I just cut a second one of these and use spray adhesive? That's a much better idea. Over here trying to figure out how to like hold this on while I trace it. If I just These corners, I'm just going to draw a bunch of lines so that I can get a subtraction of the original shape, because they're being difficult to draw. All right, let's go ahead and cut this out. Put the paper aside again. Cut out shape number 2. Trying to keep it as accurate to the first one as we can. All right. Let's round out this corner. That's not accurate at all. Okay, that's more or less correct. So I'm going to take regular spray adhesive. And we're going to try and get these stuck. Okay. Wow, that's very unpleasant scent. All right. Push. All right, I'm going to put a fan out because that is gross. All right, set that side, and this side is going to go just like so. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're going to be left with for our design. I think that works perfectly. I'll get just a couple guidelines here so I can kind of line it up once we have the spray adhesive. All right. Oh, my hands are gonna be all sticky now. All right. Okay. Now, right there, like so. Perfect. And all the way up to the edge. Good press fit. Nice thing is the paper does get a little bit wet as it's absorbing the spray adhesive, so it kind of bends into that corner a little bit better. We're going to try and get as many of those air bubbles out as possible, though, so that we have a more accurate look. But, okay, so let's see. How does that sit? Okay, so when that sits, it looks all right. This is much wider than I kind of hoped. Um, I think it'll still work all right though. It doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna let that sit for a couple of minutes just to dry, and then we can start with our Dremel and start marking out the edges. All right, we'll take this silly sanding wheel off. I don't even know if this bit is still good, actually. Oh well. Back in the box you go. I guess in the meantime, while that's drying, we can kind of start to figure out this piece. Couple ideas that I did have. Obviously, if you go to it's like some regular stock flat iron, that's a possibility. It would result, we'd have to do a lot of smoothing on the edges though. It'd be very top heavy. The other difficult part is just trying to cut that shape out. Obviously, you absolutely could do it with just a saw, but that would take forever. And I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to cutting things. If I have to, I will, obviously, but prefer to do as little cutting as possible. I'm going to put some of these tools back so I have more space while our spray adhesive is drying. Probably end up reusing a couple of them. And then I'm also going to grab a box of parts that we can look through for our guard piece. Give me a couple minutes, I will be right back. You might hear me messing around with stuff in the background. Again, if you guys have any ideas, go ahead and leave them in the comments. And when I get back over there, I will look and see what you guys are saying. Alright, I'm headed back over, guys. So I did think of something, and I do believe you can purchase this at Home Depot. I'll have to double check the next time I'm there. But we could use flat iron aluminum. And if we use flat iron aluminum, that'll cut the cutting process down to way shorter. I don't know how many seconds. Oh no. The spray adhesive stuck to the paper. A little bit too well. Okay, that is very stuck on there. I'm just gonna touch everything else with my disgustingly dirty hands so that it gets not sticky faster. we're gonna smooth and polish all of this afterwards, so it's not a big issue. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so that piece is too short. But if we get more aluminum flat iron, I think, or not flat iron, because it's aluminum, just flat bar, I think that's the way to go. Let's see here. Okay. Well, now that this is glued down, why don't we go ahead and trace our line down the center, and we can actually cut that right now. And I'm just going to do that by eye. It's probably a much better way to do this. Let's see, where do we actually want this to end? That would be a... Yeah, alright, something like that. Okay. It's not too shabby. Let's see, what's a good cutting bit? Now I just got some new ones in here. This guy's probably not too bad. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start with this one. I might need to replace. Alright. So I think I'm gonna start with one of these two. That's not gonna focus, is it? It is not. Okay. Just a regular cutting bit. Is that going to be... Yeah, okay, that's going to be this head. That, replace that. All right. Give myself plenty of room to maneuver it. Now what I'm going to do first is just carve a slight groove just to mark the edges. And then I'll do the centerpiece. I wish I had one of the pencil shaped ones, because that would make this a lot easier. This one, I think you're technically supposed to hold like that. I'm gonna try and use it as a pencil so I can get more precision. Just really bulky stock that makes it a little bit difficult. Alright, we're doing alright so far. But welcome, Trick Shot Kings. Oh no, wait, you finished the Luke Saber? How did that go? So we now have our edge marked out. And I realized I didn't draw our center line on here, so I'm going to go and do that right now before I start cutting. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. Probably a much more precise way going about this. But we shall see how this turns out. Also, I'm sure this live stream is not very engaging. I'm so used to just working in silence whenever I'm working on a project, because it's just me. I don't have a lot of commentary. But let's go ahead and start cutting our center lines, and then we'll go from there. This one I might. Surprisingly, the pencil grip is working better still. Okay, yeah, let's do roughly go all the way to the edge. Just trying to remove some of this gunk from the spray adhesive. It has gummed up the cutting bit though, so I gotta remove it every once in a while. Yeah, I noticed the cut was getting worse as I was cutting through that section. And it dawned on me, well, the cutting bit is picking up all of our spray adhesive. Okay, that looks fairly clean. All right, so I'm just carving right now. The sample lines is not the finished groove, obviously. That's going to be a lot deeper. I just need to like a solid marking as to where my cut starts and ends. So we're gonna do the other side now. All right, so there's center line number 2, looking pretty good. Let's see here. Yeah, I think those look all right. So now the next part is going to be tracing our paper shapes. Because what I'm going to do is, in order to make this look better, I'm going to inset the foam a little bit. I think that's probably the best idea. So I'm going to go ahead and trace around these triangular shapes. That way we have an area for where we can cut out later on. So my hair was kind of blocking what I'm doing. Just trying to be extra precise with these because it matters a lot more. So that should be, it looks to me like it's cut all the way around, so I'm going to just go ahead and scrape off all of the extra melted parts and do the other side. Is it all the way around? Yeah, okay, that's marked all the way around. Perfect. All right. So excellent. Okay, other side. All right. Not too bad. So now you can see we have our straight line all the way around. I think I'm actually going to take this piece of paper off now that we have it marked. Just because the edge there was not fully seated correctly. Right. Just gonna have to peel off all of the paper. Oh wow, we're already going on 66 minutes. All right. I didn't know exactly how long this stream was going to be. Again, it was just kind of a build along with me kind of stream. But I'll try not to keep you guys too long. Okay. Got the majority of the paper off. Perfect. All right. And as you can see, we have our piece marked and cut all the way along that edge there. Now the question is, what do we want to do for the grooves? So we don't have a lot of space in here to engrave the groove, but I mean, you can see on our reference here, it does appear to be fairly deep because it's, you know, two pieces attached to an inner cylinder. Let's see here. What do we want to do with that? Can we fit? No, that'd be really difficult. I was trying to think, you know, could we take a piece of the 3/4 inch connecting pipe and actually just seat it in there so that we have all of that extra depth? But I don't know. Because of the curved nature of the tube, I don't think that would go as easily as I think it would. All right, stuff to think about. Let's see. Should I take this one off as well? No, I'm gonna leave this one on there. That way we have our reference. I should have made 3 of them so that I could recreate these in foam when I cut out the foam. I did not think that far ahead though. Whoops. All right. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the sanding wheel and just sand this. Which means first I'm gonna try and use. I'm gonna go grab a paper towel real quick. I will be right back. I've got to grab those. Those are inside. All right. We got a paper towel. Tear off part of it since we don't need the whole thing. And I'm gonna see if alcohol will also help with our spray adhesive. Maybe. A little bit, but not really. I'm hesitant to use acetone because I don't know if acetone will melt the pipe. I forget if PVC is acetone proof or not. Not sure. It's kind of coming off. Yeah, just some of the denser segments. I want to get as much of this off before I go sanding because it'll gum up the sanding wheel in no time. So I'm going to just try and use some friction to get the rest of that off. Dampen it with alcohol. I'll let it loosen up the fibers a little bit. And friction the rest off. Okay, that's not too bad. So let's get our. Did I just bring it up here? I did. There we go. Grab my sanding disc. Oh, forgot the sanding disc requires the bigger. Ooh, come on. There we go. All right, sanding disc in. Lock that and tighten it. All right. Now I'm just gonna sand this so that we can kind of see what that's gonna look like. I forgot how much dust that puts off. I'm gonna grab a mask real quick so I'm not inhaling all of that. All right, once I put this on, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to hear me. Just using a painter's mask. It might be really muffled. I guess I could probably do a pretty good Darth Vader impression now if I wanted to. But I'd rather not embarrass myself. That's not an impression that I've studied on how to do. All right, so let's see how that looks. I think it looks pretty good. All right. Oh, all right. You guys can probably hear me better now. Just gonna set the mask up there. Okay, so I've used the sanding wheel to sand out the area that we're going to be working on. Looking at the thickness of it, we might end up punching all the way through for that foam. That's going to be a little bit difficult. We're going to have to figure that one out. Ultimately, what might be interesting is just seeing if we end up cutting them into two separate pieces and doing a pipe in the middle. I'd like to avoid it if possible. I feel like it wouldn't look the best, but it would make it a lot easier to do those foam inserts. Yeah, I guess another option, if we're just going visually, I have this stuff right here, Plasti Dip. I use this for my Dune still suit that I made, and it kind of gives it like a plastic coating look. Like think it's a good example. You know, like in a truck, right? You have like the textured black surface. It kind of looks like that. I think that's probably the best comparison. Yeah, I don't know. It gives it a fun finish. I like it. Might work for this project. We'll have to see. I'll try and get some of this stuff off. Okay. Count that. I think. Wow, there's so much dust. Holy. The sanding disc really. It works really well, but it makes a bunch of fine grained dust everywhere, which is not exactly ideal, especially if you're breathing in. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to put this back together. How do we want that? I want that up, right? I think this side went up. Maybe I was wrong. Where is my other part? Here it is. Okay. So that. Like so. Go ahead and mark that. So now let's see. Okay, it's going to have to go the other way. Yeah. This is not an ideal fit. So it takes just kind of a lot of force. Okay. More or less, that's accurate. Okay. Okay, so there's that, and then this goes on the end, like so. This tape is just going to come off, but okay. So we're going to need to do a custom thing with this because you can see it's intersecting with our grip. But that's kind of what we're looking at. I think the grips turned out okay, shape and size wise. I'm going to look for aluminum bar to make this part. And if we can find that, that would be excellent. Right now I'm just going to take it off. I'm going to keep it so that I have the general shape. Actually, no, I can just recut that out. We will toss that. I really think, okay, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for a 45 piece when I'm at Home Depot, hopefully tonight. Because I think that might be the best idea. Because it is a much sharper angle right there than this gradual. No! There goes the reference. Alright. The other weird thing is how that sits. Like, that's not accurate at all. That's better. Huh. So maybe it was better before, fit-wise. Oh, yeah. Okay. Never mind. That fits a lot better, so I need to remark that, because that is not accurate at all. Okay. That looks a lot better. So, let's see. What do we still need to do? This, I'm going to put it down a little bit. Got our grip section. It's a little bit bigger than Dooku's. We need to get a piece for right here in the middle. So we can do that. This little kind of bulb part right there. And then we need a 45-ish, well, it's like 30 degrees. We're going to need a piece for right here. This can work for the very end, but only the very end. So that's just going to be like cut out here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the whole trigger section. I think that might be too much. We'll see. Obviously, if there's a cool piece that would work for it, that would be amazing. But I'm not sure. And then, yeah, I really want to see if there's a faucet that looks like that. Because that does look like a faucet head. Like, every time I look at it, it's like, okay, you can imagine right here, you're going to have like your fine mesh thing for your filter. And then in here, you can see that's clearly a piece of tubing on top of what almost looks like a corrugated piece of tubing, which they do have at Home Depot. Let's see. I love trying to figure this stuff out, but it's very complicated. Okay. Luckily, I have a picture now, so I can just take the picture into Home Depot as I'm looking for stuff. The first time I went and found all of these parts, it was very much just like, trying to remember what this looks like. And occasionally I'd pull it up on my phone, but obviously looking on a phone is not great. Yeah. I think I might stop this stream right here for now until I can make more progress. I know it doesn't look like we made much progress today, but we figured out a lot of things that'll probably work. So maybe it wasn't a big change day, but it was definitely a great prep day. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and put these bits back, and then I will update you guys either through community posts or obviously another stream later on, but that's gonna probably be a little while. Next time you see me streaming, this will probably have a lot more progress made on it. I'm gonna go to Home Depot maybe with some friends tonight, and so any progress that I make with them, we're just gonna jump ahead and I'll explain what I did later on. That way they don't have to be like, on a live stream trying to figure it out as we're building it. But um, I do like the progress we made with the grips and the what we figured out. I still think the aluminum probably gonna be the best bet for that piece there. Anyway, another option that I might look at is junkyards. Um, Obviously, like I said at the beginning, faucet heads for this crazy expensive, like $65 for a cheap one. Um, so I might just go check a junkyard and see, because obviously we don't need it to be functional. It could be broken for all I care. We just need the design. Um, that would kind of stray away from the build with Home Depot parts, but it'll give us a lot better design. So I'm gonna leave this for right here. I'm gonna leave this right here for right now, and we'll continue Dooku's Saber at a later date. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Trickshot Kings, glad to hear that your lightsaber turned out well. It was very exciting. And yeah, I will see all of you guys on the next stream. If you guys want to check out my Instagram, it's I'll link it in below, but I'll post story updates there as well for any progress that I make, any parts that I buy. Yeah. All right. Talk to you guys later.